everybody, it's Kristin. So today we're going to have another segment in Cooking with Kristin. And today I'm going to make for you something that in my family we call meat stuff. Very original, I know. I actually just don't have any other name for it. It's something that my dad used to make for us. My dad and my mom shared a lot of the cooking. So I'm going to show that to you today. So from your pantry, I need a little bit of olive oil. You are going to need 2 onions, 2 cans of cream of mushroom soup, whichever brand you like, and either 2 big cans or 2 or 4 small cans of mushrooms. I just use stems and pieces. You can use whichever you would like. And then you also need some Worcestershire sauce. And then from your refrigerator, you need a 2.5 to 3 pound roast. Now I'm using a Chuck Black Angus beef roast. You can also use any kind of roast, really, arm roast, whatever roast you want, you can use for this. And also what I grew up with it, and have still to this day make it when my husband happens to get one, is venison. If you have venison that you're not sure what to do with, this is a great way to make venison, and it's a little more leaner and it makes venison taste awesome. Not that venison doesn't, but it makes it taste awesome. So those are the things you're going to need. And yeah, so let's get started. So the first thing that you're going to do is cut up your onion. And I just do this by, I cut off the ends. I happen to have my garbage right here, but you could, if your garbage isn't close, you could be like Rachel Ray and get yourself a garbage bowl. And then I cut it in half, and then I just peel off the outside layer. That's what works easiest for me. I'm no professional, that is for sure. Okay, so that's 1 onion. I hate all these little thingies, drive me crazy. Okay. Peel off the outside. You can just do, these are kind of medium-sized onions. If you like more onion, do a large one. If you don't do one, if you don't like as much onion. And then all I'm going to do is cut them like this. Okay, so now the onions are cut up, and I've come over to the stove, and I'm going to start heating my skillet. Alright, so we're going to let that heat up a little bit. I also have the base to my crock pot here. You could have your crock pot if it doesn't come out. But so I have my base to my crock pot right here. I'm going to put down a little bit of olive oil in the pan. A couple tablespoons, I don't know. Tablespoon. You know, I just go a couple times around the pan until I feel like it looks good. And then you are going to drop your onions in after that heats up a little bit. So I have my roast. And you want to cut this up into like kind of 2-inch by 2-inch chunks. So I usually, because I'm kind of, you know, we'll try to square it up a little bit. Okay, so I have the oil is pretty hot. I'm going to start dropping down my onions. Getting oil on myself. You don't want the heat too high. Kind of like medium to medium high. So I got onions in the pan there. So now what I wanted you to see is, this is the size that I'm cutting the meat up into. You don't want them too small, but you don't want them too big. And you certainly are supposed to do them smaller. This is the size that I always do. So as you start getting them done, I'm going to wait a little bit while the onions are doing their thing in here. So I can let you actually see what the onions are doing. There. So the onions are zhuzhing around in here. And so I have cut this strip now into, how can I show you this? Let me remove part of my stove. Okay, I know I'm so professional, you guys. So then you just cut this into chunks. And if I see a lot of fat on there, like over here there's a big chunk of fat, I'll take that off. So you cut your meat up into chunks, then a little salt and pepper, onto the pieces like that. I would normally do them all at one time, but you know. And then you drop them into your pan. And it's all you're doing at this point is just browning them. You don't need to cook them completely, you're just browning them. And you don't want to put too many pieces in the pan or it won't brown nicely. See, fat, gross. And then you just let them cook for a couple minutes on each side. And then you repeat the process, but I leave the onions in there. Okay, so it's been a couple minutes. Hopefully you guys can see that. And so now I'm just going to flip them. You can see that they're just a little bit brown. They're not cooked through. Again, we're not trying to cook them through. Just trying to get a little bit of brown on both sides. And I really try not to do a lot at a time because I want them to not like, I can't remember what the official word is for it. Like sweat each other or something? I don't know. So you flip them, and then you do another batch. Okay, so it's been just about another minute and a half, 2 minutes or so. And now I'm just taking them out and I'm dropping them into my crock pot. And again, you can see that they're not, there you can see, they're not completely done. It's just, you're just starting the process. And you're kind of, I don't want to say searing, because they're not exactly searing. But this process will help leave most of the, the juice in there, keep it more moist. And you can tell that I'm leaving the onions in there because I want the flavor of the onions to stay with all the pieces of meat. Oops. If you grab an onion, it's not a huge deal, but... Alright. Redispose the onions. And I usually end up with about 3 batches for a 2.5 to 3 pound roast. Wash my hands. A little salt, a little pepper. Okay, so this is the last batch, so I'm just going to turn off the heat. Throw this random onion away. And take everything out of the pan and into the crock pot. Okay, so for the gravy, so to speak, for this, you want to have, like I said, 2 cans of cream of mushroom soup. Doesn't really matter what brand they are. Mine are from Aldi. I took the labels off though because we have to do that for our recycling, so I always do that before I take everything out. Okay, and then you're going to put your mushrooms in, and this is really, really important. For your mushrooms, you want to have, again, if you're using 2 large or 4 small, you only want to drain the juice out of half of what you have. So I have 2 cans here with the juice drained out of. And then I have 2 cans that has all but the juice I just spilled on my counter in it. And then, and this is key, 2 tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce. Boy, I've done a number on the label on that. And I measure everything because I'm kind of like that with this sort of, with spices and that sort of thing. I'm a little more. All right. And then just take a spoon, whisk, whatever. I just happen to have a whisk here. And I like using a whisk for this because I feel like it mixes it up pretty well. It's just going to look like that. Okay, so once that's all mixed up, all you're going to do is dump it in here. And I like to get all of it because that's how I was raised. Don't waste anything. And then once I forgot a spoon, then you just mix it up. And there you have it. So now you can either directly plug this in and you want to cook it on low for 8 to 10 hours. You can cook it on high for 4 to 6 as well. I just prefer to do it on low. Or what I generally do, for instance, today is Sunday and we are going to have this tomorrow night. So I prefer to do it the day before because I like to let it sit in its juices and everything for a little while and really get the flavor of the mushrooms and the onions and the soup into the meat. And so then I will put it in the refrigerator overnight and pull it out in the morning, plug it in before I leave, and dinner's ready when I get home. It's what I love about Crockpot recipes. So I'm going to actually go ahead and do that. I'm going to put it in the fridge. And then tomorrow I will show you how I plate it up, what we put it on top of, and that sort of thing. So I will see you tomorrow. Everybody, so I am home from work now. It is 5:05. And all I'm going to have to do now is make some rice or noodles, or you could make mashed potatoes, whichever you would prefer to put this over on top of. We are going to make rice, and we use brown rice. A little tip for you, if you don't like maybe kind of the flavor of brown rice, is if you make it with broth, either beef broth or chicken broth, and we tend to use the low sodium beef broth or chicken broth. It actually will give the rice a little more flavor and maybe taste a little bit better to you. So anyway, that's what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a little bit of rice. It takes about 5 minutes and I will have dinner ready. So that's one of the best things about Crockpot recipes is that you can do prep maybe on the weekend and then specifically on a Monday when you get home and you're tired because it's Monday, then you're all ready to go. So I'm just going to show you what we have here. So this is my Crockpot, and this is what it looks like. So you can see it's yummy, and there's good gravy, and it wasn't like horrible gravy that you made with butter, that sort of thing. The only thing that went into this, as far as added fat, was a little bit of olive oil when you were grilling it, or when you were sauteing up the meat, and that was it. The rest of it is just what's in the soup, and you certainly could use low fat soup or low sodium soup, whichever suits what you need. So this is what we're going to have for dinner. I hope that you guys enjoyed this. If you want to see more kind of Crockpot recipes, let me know. If you have any questions on this one, let me know. I will put everything below for you guys. And yeah, bon appetit. Thanks for watching. Bye.